Welcome to the United States of Small Business, a podcast where the essence of American entrepreneurship is celebrated in every episode. With host John Quick at the helm, join us as we embark on a journey through the heart of the nation, uncovering the inspiring stories of small business owners from coast to coast. Experience the vibrant energy of bustling cities and the serene beauty of small towns, all while discovering how individuals are turning their entrepreneurial dreams into reality, even against the greatest odds. Each episode brings you face to face with the dreamers, creators, and doers who form the economic backbone of our country, all sharing their spirit of innovation and resilience. Whether you are in the early stages of sowing the seeds for your own business, scaling new heights in your current venture, or simply captivated by tales of grit and triumph, you are in the right place. Tune in on platforms like Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and beyond. For deeper insights and to connect with the heart and soul of America's main streets, visit UnitedStatesOfSmallBusiness.com. Subscribe to United States of Small Business with host John Quick now and be inspired by the powerful stories of entrepreneurship, community, and the unwavering pursuit of the American dream. Begin your journey of inspiration with us today.
Welcome to the United States of Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, John Quick. Today, we're excited to have Ron Earley, founder of Greywolfe Investing, join us. Greywolfe Investing is renowned for scaling wholesale Amazon FBA stores to unprecedented heights with a proven track record of $1.4 billion in products sold for his clients. Greywolfe Investing excels in marketplace analysis, product selection, and streamlining the warehouse operations. In this episode, Ron will share insights onto his journey becoming an industry trailblazer and how they continue to set the standard for e-commerce in the Amazon world. So let's dive right into it. Ron, welcome to the United States of Small Business Podcast.
Thank you for having me, John.
This will be fun to hear a little bit about your story and what you do now. But first, take me back to what got you started getting kind of that entrepreneur bug. Everybody's got their story. I'd love to hear yours.
Well, I appreciate that. And indeed, they do. I feel like everybody still tends to lean in the same direction. A lot of people come from either not really having a lot of money and they find themselves in selling something, and somehow universally they can't really make sense of it when they're younger, but somehow it tends to unravel and it creates an avenue, a new opportunity, a different way to live life, maybe stepping outside of the ordinary. Mine kind of started when I was a little younger in school. My mother actually helped me charter some of the things that I was doing. And one of the big ones was when I was younger and in school, Pokemon cards were like a really big thing. And now, ironically, they're also a really big thing. And they're coming back tenfold the amount of value that they were. But my parents were really big on, they did birthday parties for me, and I had a bunch of kids come over, and we get like these little 10 cans. And I just remember, like, at the time, I had duplicates of all these cards, and I rode my little Python bike up to Publix. And in my terrible handwriting, I'd write out on our computer pieces of paper, what I was charging for what. And it was a dime to put into this copy machine where you just make copies of your piece of paper and pass them out on the bus. And I remember one Friday I came home with like $240 in the 5th grade. And my dad was very concerned, trying to figure out where I was coming home in 5th grade with $240 in my pocket. And long and behold, it was selling the Pokemon cards back to the kids that, their parents had bought them for me for my birthday. So that was the first foot in the door
Awesome.
for entrepreneurism. Yeah, man. Yeah.
That's so cool. So eventually you kind of looked into this Amazon opportunity. Tell me about what first got you struck on looking into Amazon and FBA and that whole story. Would love to hear it.
It was a journey. Like anything else, I think that you go through some things, and it was to deter you from entrepreneurism. We all go through our struggles. Mine was a leap of faith, and then just trying to follow what you study inside entrepreneur books. You want to follow successful actions, right? And I had just quit a 6-figure job, and it was a very interesting time in my life because I had been with my wife for 4 years at that point, and we were told, or it was communicated to my wife prior to us getting together, she wasn't going to be able to have kids. So we didn't think that we were ever going to. We never took any precautions. There was never any issues. And then 2 days after I quit my job, I found out that we had a little baby boy on the way. So it's very terrible timing to walk away from a very, very high paying job at such a young age. And I ended up investing into what I knew from my father, which is in construction. And I was going to start this flooring business that I fell flat on my face and got stuck with a $24,000 grinder that I could not use. Long story short, a contractor got fired and I invested 2/3 of what I had set aside. It's absolutely horrible, horrible timing. And I ended up losing the job. And before I went home on that Monday to go tell my wife that I royally screwed up, I did what any gym rat would do, and I wanted to clear my head. I took a couple scoops of pre-workout. I went to the gym, and I discovered that people that work 9-to-5 jobs aren't typically at the gym on a Monday at 11:30 a.m. And that's not why I went there, was to have conversations or to navigate. Networking was not the task at hand. It was trying to clear my head so I can make sense of what just happened. And the job that I had left before really pitted me in like a bodybuilding position. I thought that that was what's going to be my career. So I still looked different at the time. And I had this guy following me around. I kept hearing this ding, 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 ding. And I really want him to go away. I'm like, man, it really sounds like someone's trying to get a hold of you. I really think you should take that. And he turned his phone around and he goes, no one's trying to contact me. This whole time we've been talking, I've been making money. And he's showing me these Amazon notifications. Mind you, I just spent 24,000 of the 36,000 I had set aside. And he goes, this is what I do. This is how the fulfillment works inside wholesale. I've been familiar with wholesale in the past with some of the things that I had studied and the people that I'd been involved with. I'd just never seen anybody do it on Amazon, nor did I know that you could do it on Amazon. And he goes, I teach this and I mentor people on how to do this. That way they can do it from their house. I just charge 10 grand. And I'm like, damn, all right, well, that's probably not going to happen. So I just lost $24,000. And before I went home, I ended up spending another $10,000. I ended up taking the course. Yeah.
And my guess is it worked out well for you. I mean, you're doing good now, but talk to me a little bit about from taking that course to, you know, figuring out, okay, I can make a living off of this. Tell me about what that felt like.
Well, the very first thing that I will say is I think that a lot of people fall short on how they feel about courses, because if you look inside what's finished inside a course, like percentile wise, usually only, and I do think it's statistically in 2023, only 12% of courses that were ever purchased were ever finished. People put these labels on how they don't work. I don't sell a course specifically, but I would say for people that complete these courses, sometimes you have what's called the communication gap, where you become so used to something like steps 3 through 12 is what's communicated, and you forget about steps 1 through 3 because it's just, it like the back of your hand. You don't even think like it's important to communicate. And that's what happened to me, because I got locked up a little over $17,000, $18,000 inside Amazon. So my first go round with Amazon wasn't good. It was really bad. I did a lot really, really quick. And I didn't realize that scaling a storefront is something that's a process. It takes time. It wasn't anything that was ever taught to me in the mentorship. And in that, I racked up a couple credit cards because I only had $2,000 left in my name and the credit. And that money got held for 63 days. And it was a terrible, terrible time in my life, because at this point in time, my son was just born. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do to afford baby formula. So I'm back out in the construction field. We're also doing like the old school at the time in like 2017, like the Gary V whole garage flipping thing. I remember my first turnover, I bought this table saw from this old lady across the street, and I got it for like $30 from her, and I ended up selling it on a marketplace. And it wasn't a Facebook marketplace at the time. It was Craigslist marketplace. I ended up getting $260 for the thing. And I was like, all right, this could work. This could get some money back in our pocket, at least until we get this funds release. But the amount of things that were going through my head in that 60 days was, I really screwed up. But at the same time, I'm like, I was making money and I can see the money sitting inside the Amazon account. They're just holding it, just hasn't been transferred to my business bank account yet. So at night, I would spend more time studying outside what I already paid for to figure out what needed to be done and what other things could go wrong and how could I prevent those things from happening, because there was a serious business that was here. And being able to leverage even the bank's money to be able to scale this is where I started learning about wholesale inventory and net terms on freight cost, and being able to get shipments sent in by the pallet versus individual units. And when drop shipping was a thing, you'd swipe the credit card and you'd have one unit shipped from like a Walmart or a Target to a customer's house. Then it was a great thing. But then I'm like, if you can buy this from a retail shop and still get that kind of margin, like, how are they making money where you're actually buying it from a retail store? And that's when I started diving into wholesale. And wholesale's opportunity just for margins across the board is just one of those industries. And this is something that I understand now compared to what I understood then, is literally the only the only thing that you could put your money into that has not had a retraction, a single retraction in the last 25 years. Consumerism will always be on the rise. Even with the 9,500 businesses that went out during COVID. I mean, it just only added business to Amazon. It's just a matter of being in a place where there's movement. And are you a part of the movement? Everybody's going to buy. It just depends if, are you in a position to sell? So that is what started this monster of this thing we've created now here in Sarasota, Florida.
Nice. So somewhere along
Yeah.
the lines, you could have chosen just to kind of keep all this information to yourself and made a good living of it, but you decided to help other folks out. Talk to me about your business now and what kind of opportunities are out there for folks if they're listening in and thinking, man, I need to get a hold of this guy. He sounds like he knows what he's talking about.
Well, I moved. I tried to get more control over my systems, my operations, and it sucks to say, but upon me delivering information to other people and teaching them how to do it themselves, I wasn't taking a piece of the pie. I didn't see a bigger picture. There are a lot of people that can fall into the category of where they're not completing the things and tasks that you say. But if I can run something that's very similar to how people would run real estate with a real estate management company, specifically with my Amazon operations, what I would end up doing is I would have an investor come in and they buy something very similar to a franchise fee, and I do a direct profit split. I just leverage my warehouse, my distribution contracts. We're now government contracted. I'm state recognized as an investment firm in the state of Florida. Just got awarded the key to the city in 2022. This growth rapidly upon creating this community of having like-minded individuals come. I'm usually flying people out here every quarter for a class. We just ran one 3 Fridays ago. I had 80 investors that were local here in Sarasota, Florida off Siesta Key. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm creating a cash flowing asset that cash flows very heavily on a monthly basis. And the more that you put into it, it compounds more annually. So it's just, it's kind of revolutionizing a little bit of what a traditional investment that you put your money into would look like.
So is this opportunity, for people that are just kind of wanting to dip their toes in the entrepreneur Amazon world, or does this need to be a seasoned kind of veteran entrepreneur? Who's your average customer that comes to you and wants to invest or be a part of what you're doing?
That is a really good question. I don't close the door on people, but the more that I'm involved with business, it is easier to communicate what people are getting into from an investment standpoint, rather than having to teach somebody about investing and then getting their foot in the door for a first-time investment. The first option tends to be a little bit easier to work with because people can see a bigger picture. I don't mind if people want to try and find a way to retire off this, but like anything else, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And I'm not trying to get people in that are just specifically looking for an immediate retirement plan. Like the way that this compounds and when it grows, wholesale specifically is a volume game. So if I only have people that are buying $50,000 to $100,000 of inventory after I already made them $50,000 to $100,000, and you're not reinvesting any of that back into the storefront, it doesn't really benefit me and the company as much as somebody else that's seasoned and understands how investments work.
So talk to me a little bit about the hustle and grind of this, because I think a lot of folks today, they want to try something out for 5, become a millionaire, or they're right outside of college and they want to be the CEO of the company a week into it. You had to go through some ups and downs, valleys and peaks. And
Yeah.
My guess is, putting in long hours, 7 days a week. Talk to me a little bit about that. Played a role in your success.
Oh, man. Entrepreneurs are a lot of entrepreneurs, they are more of the people that execute. And I think that running something of this magnitude, you also need somebody that's very heavy in operations. The problem is if you can't find somebody that you can mesh with, typically the entrepreneur side, the visionary is the one that's ready to go. And it's less of game planning, because with all the SOPs and operations, it slows down the execution process. So you really got to find somebody that can mend with you somewhere in the middle, especially when, we're running a little over 300 investment accounts right now. I have 76, 77 employees currently right now. All of those families I am liable for and have to take care of. And I also have 3 children and a wife at home that I try to give my time to. There's just so many moving parts inside this business that if you can't find that other person to help you run this, I'm just going to tell you now, it's one of those things that you're going to end up tapping out on. And you can go in pretty deep. I mean, operations for something like this it's not like a small 6-figure operation. It's on a monthly basis, just to keep the doors open, you're looking $250,000. So it's not small. by any means.
Yes, it's not cracking your piggy bank and finding some loose change laying around.
Right.
This is, you kind of got to be all in at your level. So
Yeah.
tell me about how folks can get a hold of you, because lots of folks are going to listen to this and think, man, I need to get a hold of Ron, because he sounds like he knows what he's doing. You know, I've always wanted to dabble in Amazon and I don't know how to do it. This sounds like it
Right.
is might be something to where, you know, they could invest money in and not really have to know the ins and outs of all the details of Amazon. So tell folks how they can get a hold of you, and, you know, what that process looks like if somebody is interested in investing with you.
The very first thing I would say is if you do want to reach out to contact me, or you guys want to get a better explainer, because it's a very extensive process. It's more than we could fit inside this podcast. And I want people to be very well educated on the investment before they invest into it. And if that means more time on the phone with me or a Zoom call, we'll set it up. But Ron Earley on LinkedIn or greywolfeinvesting.com, there's tons of different sources and things that you guys will see that will auto-populate if you type us in on Google. But I would look forward to being able to see you. And if I don't get a chance to see you, you'll end up either meeting with my COO, Vic, or Alec, which is one of our qualification advisors. And one way or another, I'll end up hopping in. We'll give you guys the resources that you need to understand this a little bit better.
Nice. Well, we'll put all those links in the podcast description. 20 minutes here has gone by in a flash. Ron, do you have any last minute thoughts before we head off?
I think this is a really, really unique way of putting a podcast together. It's a different basis for like a style of an elevator pitch. And I appreciate you having me on and doing it. And I hope that I get some people that are like-minded that want to join this firm. My light just went out. But I appreciated the time, and I appreciate your time today.
Awesome. Well, folks listening in, if you just got the tail end here, I want to encourage you to go back and listen to the whole thing. Ron is got a great story, shares the ups and downs of his entrepreneurial journey, and has an opportunity for folks that may be interested in getting into the Amazon world. Like I said, we'll put all the links in the podcast description. We hope everybody has a phenomenal rest of their week. And until next time, I'm John Quick from the United States of Small Business Podcast. Ron, thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate you for having me.